Hey, it's David here with Beyond the Clef, and I am here with Pete Hazzard.
Yep.
And you were talking the other day with me about leadership,
Yeah.
and leadership in relation to education. We were kind of nerding out a little bit on all the
Right.
books that we like to listen to, or I listen driving. You read because you're probably better at reading than I am. But how does that relate to education, particularly music?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to keep in mind is that leadership at the end of the day is all about influence. You know, leadership is doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether or not we feel like doing it. And so much of what we do in music education is, we think about competitive accolades, we think about all those things that we want to do, but at the end of the day, we're really influencing students.
Right.
We're influencing up as we're working with administrators, school board members, and we're influencing horizontally as we work with peers. So leadership at the end of the day really is a 360-degree effort, and we have to have skill sets in being able to lead up, lead down, and lead sideways with peers horizontally. And so I think that leadership development, I think regular reading habits are an important part of a hungry leader. And a great music educator sees that as important and delves into those concepts and tries to continue to improve and gain clarity in that craft as well. I think regular reading habits and reflective practices are an important part of that. So I always have kind of a regular diet of that kind of leadership reading, team building reading, and personal development, those kind of resources that I'm always paying attention to and reading through.
How do you find those books? What's your best resource for that?
Well, I think my best resource for that is talking to mentors. I like to spend a lot of time working with people that have impacted me over the years, and finding those concepts that and those books and that material that speaks to some of those areas where I might be weak or I might need regular development in. I specifically try to read about 2 books a month if I can. So I try to get through 24 or 25 different books over the course of the year. And I try to pace those out where some of it is leadership development, some of it is team building, but some of it's personal development. It's just me learning how to be a better leader for the teachers that I have that work with me on a regular basis.
Okay, give us 2 or 3 of your favorites.
Well, most recently, I would say there's a great book by Liz Wiseman and Greg McEwen called Multipliers. And the whole concept behind this book is that all of us have an inner genius. A genius is something that comes easy to us. It's something that comes naturally to us. But the problem is, a lot of times we don't know that. It's something that comes so naturally. We just assume that everybody else can do those things. And as a leader that's a multiplier, Liz Wiseman talks about, is somebody that helps to identify what that genius is and to help articulate that so people can learn to operate within their strengths. And that speaks to me as a lot as a band director, because that's what we do all the time, right? It's about finding the genius in our students, identifying that, and help them to find a path and a passion that will take them far as well. Another book that I've read recently that I have just found absolutely fascinating is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And his entire concept in that book is that, we look for these broad sweeping changes, especially now as we're at the beginning of the year. We talk about New Year's resolutions. They're a train wreck. They don't work, right? It's all about the habits and becoming and developing individual habits that over time will have a longer systemic impact on what we do. It's not about the big major initiatives. It's about the small things that we do each and every day. And so he goes through a process in how to develop those, and how really the fact that habitual development is really identification development. It's learning to identify as a different kind of person. And so he gives some real specific, tangible things that you can do to be better at developing habits. I think that speaks to what we do in music all the time, because we're trying to train young minds and young wills to develop strong habits through how they practice and how they approach things. And so I have found those 2 books recently to be very helpful.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Hazzard. Appreciate it.
Great.